All right, welcome back. For today's lesson, I have Assata here with me, and today we're going to subtract fractions. And today we're going to subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So first of all, Assata, tell me what the denominators are in these two fractions.
6 and 3.
Right. Are you asking me or are you telling me?
Telling you.
Okay. Make sure you sound confident when you answer questions, just like in school. All right. So the denominator of this first fraction is 6. The denominator of the second fraction is 3. This is 1/6 minus 2/3. 1/6 minus 2/3. Now, what you might notice, or what you might not notice, is that 1/6 is actually smaller than 2/3. If you think about a fraction is a piece of a larger amount. So 1/6 means you take an object and you break it down into 6 equal pieces, and 1/6 is one of those pieces. 2/3 is when you take an object the same size as the original object from the 1/6, right? Break it down into 3 equal pieces, and you're focused on 2 of those instead of 1. So you know that 2 out of 3 is more than 1 out of 6. Just like you take a test, 6 questions, you get 1 right. Your score is less than if you took a test with 3 questions and you got 2 right, right? You'd have a larger score with 2 out of 3, all right? So before we can add or subtract any fractions, we have to make sure that our denominators are the same, or what we typically call we have a least common denominator. Common meaning the same, right? A least common denominator, meaning it's a bunch of common denominators you can have, but the math is easier if you pick the least one or the smallest one, right? So what I mean by that is, and I was just explaining this to Assata a little bit, earlier, is we want to find a number. Sis, pay attention. All right. Now, we want to find a number, right, that both 6 and 3 can multiply into. Okay. So I know that 6 can multiply into itself because 6 times 1 is 6. I also know that 3 can multiply into 6 because 3 times 2 is 6. So I could use 6 as my least common denominator, right? Isn't that what we talked about earlier? Mm-hmm. All right. Now, I also told Assata that what some people like to do is just look at the denominators and multiply them together. That's another option. That'll give you a common denominator, but that won't necessarily give you the least common denominator. You want the least common denominator sometimes. Sometimes it makes more sense just to find a common denominator, make life simple, just multiply the 2 denominators together, right? Now, okay, you look bored, so you need some work to do. All right, so what's the least common denominator?
Right.
I just said it was 6.
6.
You sitting there playing around, not paying attention. All right, so it's 6, all right? So what happens is when you find your least common denominator, you're going to create 2 new fractions, right? 2 new fractions that have that each both have that denominator, right?
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to do this, and you write a 6. Then you put a minus sign, and you write a 6. Now, this first fraction already had a denominator of 6, so you don't got to change that. If this was already a 6, this is still going to be a 6. So that means the numerator, the top numbers, right, the numerators, they stay the same in that first fraction. Think about it like this. If the denominator don't change, the numerator don't change. Right, Assata?
Yeah.
If the denominator don't change, the numerator don't change. So this is still going to be 1/6. Now, this 3 turned into a 6. How did this 3 turn into a 6?
Because it got multiplied by 2.
We multiplied the 3 by 2. You're absolutely right. The 3 got multiplied by 2 because 3 goes into 6 2 times. So 3 times 2 is 6. Now, check this out. If the 3 turned into a 6, that means the 2 is going to turn into another number also. What number is the 2 going to turn into?
4.
Right, because 2 times what?
2 times 2.
It's 4. All right, so now we got our fractions that have common denominators. Now we're ready to actually subtract. So keep this in mind. You can't actually subtract or add until your denominators are the same, right? You need common denominators. Just like when you want to have a conversation with somebody, you need to be speaking a common language. If you're not speaking a common language, then what we talking about? We're not talking about nothing, because I don't know what you're talking about and you don't know what I'm talking about. So in math, it's the same thing. We're adding and subtracting fractions. We must have common denominators. That's like having common ground or establishing common ground with somebody so we can move forward. Now we can move forward. Now, we want to know, we got this many sixths minus this many sixths. So now we only subtract the numerators. We never subtract the denominators. So now we got 1/6 minus 4/6. That's difficult for me to say, ain't it? It sounds weird, right? Sixths. Yeah, it's hard. Now, tell me what
6.
1 minus 4 is.
-3.
-3. Notice how she said the word negative out loud? If you thinking negative, but you don't say negative, then you're wrong. If it's negative, you got to say the word negative. Say the word negative out loud. 1 minus 4 is -3. So we got -3/6. So it's difficult to say. -3/6. Now, we're almost done,
6.
but we're not quite done because this fraction can be reduced. Now, I'm going to tell you this because I don't think I've told you this before. The way that you know when you can reduce a fraction is if the numerator and denominator have a greatest common factor besides 1. Because if 1 is the greatest common factor, then you're just going to end up dividing each number by 1 and nothing's going to change. So that'll help you. But if you have a greatest common factor that's different from 1, then you divide each number by that. Now, Assata, what's the common factor? Let me see if you know this. What's the common factor of both 3 and 6?
2.
2 goes into 6, but 2 don't go into 3. Not evenly.
6.
6 is a multiple.
1.
Besides 1. 1 don't help us. Because 3 divided by 1 is still going to be 3. 6 divided by 1 is still going to be 6. It's 3, Assata. Because what's 3 divided by 3? 1. What's 6 divided by 3? 2. So this is what's going to happen. I'm going to write the answer over here. The common factor between 3 and 6 is 3. The common factor between 3 and 6 is 3. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide 3 by 3, and that becomes 1. Then you're going to divide 6 by 3. That's going to become 2. So that 3 turned into a 1. That -3 turned into a -1. The 6 turns into a 2. So the answer is -1/2. That's the final answer. And that makes sense because 3 out of 6 is the same thing as half. If you had a medium pizza that was cut into 6 slices, and if you ate 3 of them, that means you ate half of the pizza. You ate half of the pizza. If it started out with 6 whole slices, and you ate 3 of them, there's 3 left. So there's an equal amount. You ate the amount that's gone is equal to the amount that's still left. That means you ate half of it. Right? That's why this makes sense. That's why this answer should make sense. So the final answer is -1/2. All right. So this is just an example of subtracting fractions. Now, in order for you to master this, you need to go practice. You need to go practice some problems, even if they deal with negative differences or negative answers. The answer to a subtraction problem is referred to as a difference. All right, so we can call that a difference. Just like the answer to an addition problem is called a sum. Answer to a multiplication problem is called a product. The answer to a division problem is called a quotient. Right? Now, that's it, -1/2. But in order for you to master this, you need to go practice. Go practice a lot of problems. Do like 50. That should be the aim. 50 problems. Now, does that mean do 50 problems in one night? Probably not. You might want to find 50 problems, stretch it out over a week. That's 10 problems a day in a 5-day period. 10 problems a day. I guarantee you'll master this. All right? And that's what we need. We want mastery. We want to master these skills. We don't want to just be able to say, oh, I did that before. No, you want to master it. But the way you master it is you take a video like this, you watch it to get hints and pointers and tips, and then you go to work on your own and you practice on your own time. All right? So that's what I suggest you do. Assata, you got any last words before we end the video?
No.
All right. Stop playing in your hair and end the video. What are you doing?